Welcome to the Transition Series discussion brought to you by Off the Court of the NBPA. Today's topic will focus on financial literacy with special guest and former NBA player José Calderon. My name is Drew Hawkins with EdYouCore Sports and Entertainment, and I will be serving as your moderator today. Jose, it's a pleasure to be with you here this afternoon. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Drew. It's my pleasure to be part of this. It's been great. I can't wait to start and to tell my story.
Absolutely. Well, first things first, how are things with you and your family, both here and back in Spain, as we've been going through this unique period?
Everybody's good. Everybody goes here. Really worry about my parents for a while because Spain, as you guys know, the quarantine, the confinement was really strict. They couldn't get out only to grocery store and that's it. So, they're older. So I was a little worried being that far from them. Everything else, here in the city, just as almost everyone, just trying to get out as minimum as possible with the kids and just adjusting to this new normal, if we can say that.
Exactly. Well, good. That's great to hear that you and your family are both safe here as well as abroad. Well, the last time I was with you, we were together in Boston doing a TAM meeting for the Pistons. And needless to say, a lot has changed since then. COVID-19 has changed our lives. A big deal for all of us, obviously not having any sports, primarily basketball, to be able to take a look at for the time being. And, while this country has been going through a huge withdrawal as far as sports is concerned, because that's the medium that typically gets us through a lot of bad periods, the economy's been suffering. Businesses have been suffering. People are out of work and people are dealing with a lot of challenges. And one of these things that's, it's impacted everybody from a financial standpoint. And so, irrespective of people's careers and income levels, we used to hear this term, people living from paycheck to paycheck. Most recently, you heard CJ McCullough make the statement that he's concerned that some of his fellow players are obviously having some financial issues during this period. And, it goes from being paycheck to paycheck to playcheck to playcheck. So let's kind of rewind the tape. And obviously, so often we hear about these issues facing athletes. You came into the league, into the NBA back in 2005, with the Raptors. Can you talk about, what you did to educate yourself then or even sooner when you started out your career regarding your finances and why it was so important for you early on to get that done?
I think, Drew, the first part of everything, I think is the way you get to the league. I think for some guys, and depending on where they come from, they feel like this is it. Like I have a lot of money. Like I start thinking about my second contract and where I'm going to be able to spend the money and how many people I'm going to be able to take care of and all that stuff. But when we don't think a lot of times, and it's about what if there is no second contract? Mm-hmm. So my focus all the time was on the money that I have. And that was the contract that I have at that moment. And that's how I started thinking about saving and what was my level or my way of life. I knew how much I could spend because of what I was making at that point, not because what I thought I was going to make in my second, third contract or on my NBA career. And I think that's really important. You have to, for sure, you're going to be able to buy a better car. You're going to be able to maybe buy a house or whatever, but you got to really know how much money are you making, how long you're going to be making that money. And after, I think you got to have a really nice group of people, around you to help you support all those decisions that you're going to make. We're not all we're just not born and we start knowing what to do with money, how to invest, or what is the best way to save. So I think it's a little, step by step, but I think that was my mindset. This is what I have. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So I got to take care of this money right now. And this is what I can spend. I have to pay this lease. I maybe can't buy the best car or the car I wanted. Maybe I go a little bit lower because I need that money for something else. So it was just trying to not get overspending, over just doing dreams that I have in my mind because maybe it's not the time yet.
So it sounds like you had a budget early out of the gate and you were living off of what you were making, but putting money away. It wasn't like you were planning for, this $60 or $50 million contract down the road, but really living within your means early on and allowing that to evolve over time.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the problems that with some of the young guys that I play with. What happened? They get to the league, and let's say they got the minimum or a million contract or whatever, but they have to start realizing that it's not 1 million, it's only 500 after you pay the taxes at your agent, and after you got to find a house to live, and you got to eat, and you got to have a car or lease a car or whatever. So when you put all that stuff together, it's not 1 million anymore. Right? Now you're talking about 200, 250. What you do with that money? Are you going to spend that money as well in something else? Are you going to start saving that money because you don't know if you're going to be playing the next year? So I think that's really important. It's just like really understand how much money you really have at that point and how much you really spend. So forget about that million contract and start getting all those expenses out that you're never going to touch, that tax money or that the agent, the money you got to pay to the agent or the escrow they're going to take out or whatever. So there is money that we have, you should have in your mind all the time.
So you got to know your favorite uncle quickly, and that's Uncle Sam, realizing that he was going to come in early and get his no matter what.
And one more thing, even for us as international players, my first few years is not only Uncle Sam. I have another uncle in Spain, and I have another uncle in Canada as well for a couple of years too. So it's a lot of uncles you have to take care of, and that's really important. And I think sometimes we forget about it, and I think some people use that as to try to sell or to try to give us something in a way of to making $1 million. For sure, you can pay for this car. And that's when you got to be on like, no, I'm not making $1 million. I'm making this and this and this. So sometimes they try to convince guys working on that contract that is on the news when it's really, actually it's not your contract, your money.
Jose, I mean, you were a young guy coming in, so very impressed that you had the discipline out of the gate to stick to your budget. But when it comes to understanding a budget, when it comes to understanding finances and investments, was that something that your parents talked about when you grew up, or was there something you had to do early on to really get yourself emerged and understanding how that game was played?
I think it was a mix of my family, the way they educate myself on and more than that, just about, hey, Jose, be careful with this. You cannot spend everything. Why you don't try to buy a house? So, and I think that was one of the problems that some of the guys have, and that's why. So my mix was my family, was my agent, but even after that, I tried to ask people. I asked somebody from the finance, let's say a team or whatever, just to try to start thinking about it, how things were going to work out.
Yeah, so I mean, it's interesting. You got immersed in that area. When you think about how players are educated on their finances, do you think there's a big disparity on when certain players get that information and how they get it? And does it seem like some players are more proactive than others, or more reactive when it comes to this topic?
I think so. I think it's different because we all are different. We came from different environments. We come from different families, from different cultures. Now with a lot of international players with a different, the way we see money. So there is a lot of different approaches to this. I think the thing that is the most important is like, at the end of the day, it's like, it could be the agent if it's the what you trust. It could be a player, a teammate. It could be your coach. I think it's good to ask questions about things, use the veteran to ask, okay, how you guys did that? We all went through that. We all went be at some point the first time with a lot of money. So I think that was one of the things I will advise guys. Keep asking questions. Just try to get the right people, and then when I say the right people, that doesn't mean you got to be all your friends. And to tell you what you like to hear all the time. I really, I think you got to go out of the box and really ask the right question to those people.
Were there added challenges being an international player that you felt like you had? You're coming from another country, coming into this league. now you talked about now having to learn some of the things that take place in our economic society and structure. So can you hit on that a little bit?
I think there are different cultures for sure, and there's something that is difficult to understand. I think is the way we being educated, is the way our countries work. So it's really difficult. It's really difficult to just change that to players. I think what we have to have is just an open-minded. So it doesn't matter now in this world where you're coming from to ask about money. Because it could be interesting what they're doing in French or in somewhere in Asia or somewhere in Argentina. It doesn't matter. I think at the end of the day, it's about, okay, I know you're okay. I know you save money. I know you're doing this business. How you did it. It's not about, because there is guys who are really successful that they didn't make a crazy amount of money and they've been amazing with the money they have because they were able to get the right advices. They were able to educate themselves. They were able to learn about what they wanted to do and on those things. And I think all those little things together is what kind of create this kind of like being more comfortable on the financial part of basketball, if we could say that, of this business.
You know, you hit on a great point earlier about guys having conversations with other guys, you know, and there are topics that at times are tough to talk about. And there are times where guys just don't want to act like they don't know certain things. How can, you know, we get more guys in the locker room, on the charter, having conversations with senior players that they respect, that have gone out and really done some good things? And how do we get, you know, more players like yourself that have had a great pathway to really start dropping more of that knowledge on other players so that they can benefit from that personal practical experience?
You know, and I always get into this, and I understand for some guys until they get that confidence, maybe the trust. I think for some of the veterans guys as well, like they feel like they have to be asked first. You know, like some guys are like really easy to just grab a guy and start talking about money. Other guys need to wait and see if the guy asks. So I think it gotta be, you know, it gotta go both ways. I think us as a veterans, I think we should be able to approach the guys and find a good moment to take those guys for dinner and see what they're doing, what they're thinking, not about the basketball, but just about off the court. And I think that's a great moment to just catch up and say, and see what they're doing. And you're gonna know and you're gonna feel if you can help them or where their mind is. If you think they are in the right place. And at the same time, the young guys, I think they shouldn't be scared about asking. You know when just pulling one of the bets apart in the right moment and just ask. And I don't see anybody say no, I don't want to help you or I don't want to give you that information. So I think it should be both ways for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you know, you see guys like LeBron and Draymond and Steph, and you know, these guys are a wealth of knowledge and really want to do a great job of giving back and helping other people. So I think it's great that you took some time and hit on that point. And clearly you've done that with a lot of other players coming along as well. You know, so that kind of leads me into the next piece. So there are a lot of stats that you've had in your career, a lot of things you're going to be known for in terms of being a big-time basketball player. But one of the key things that sticks out is the fact that you were an assist leader in many days and many records that provided your teams to win a lot of games. And clearly, you out of anybody out there knows the importance of what's critical in gathering the right team and allowing that team to win. So when you look back, you know, at the people that you gathered, your financial team, can you talk a little bit about how you selected them and how you managed that team throughout your career in the process?
Yeah. So the one thing I wanted to point on this is like, you know, everything started like everyone. I started with my agent. He was the one who brought me here. That's where we started the relationship. And when I was making the money, I got to a point where I even asked him and say, look, I need somebody else. We need somebody to know what to do with the money, we're going to invest it. So at that time, I have guys who helped me with the sponsors. It was, outside from my agency, it was two guys working with me. They were, a company that worked with other Spanish players. So I was comfortable in there. Those guys were great. I asked questions. I interviewed them. They were good for me. I thought they were the right path. So now I got my agent on one side. I got the sponsor guys in another working on my media, whatever deals they could have. And after, just talking with the three of them, same thing. We got to find a guy for the money. And that's how we start. My agent pulled a couple of names, and my other two guys, they brought another guys, and I meet with them. I meet with a few of them. We talk. I asked them question. I asked them. They asked me question how I wanted to do with my money, and after I make a decision. And make a decision for me wasn't about it's gonna be forever. I wanted to get that trust. I wanted to have confidence with somebody, getting my money. So, I just give them a little bit of my money, and they give me, some information, and we decide to, okay, let's invest in this. And this little part, we're gonna do this. And I was just seeing how they were reacting. They were putting money in the same investment that I do. So that means, okay, give me a little bit more confidence. So it was just trying, it's a trust process. And that's how I built my team. Now I've been with them for a while. I always have this nice question one time, because everything I got, I sent it to my guys. And one time he called me and say, Jose, I'm worried and I'm sorry at the same time. I don't know how to say, because I'm telling you no to everything you send me. And I'm like, that's why you're here. And I know some of those stuff is going to be a no, but, maybe I'm reading an investment and I don't know what it is about. Maybe you see something different, and for you it's a great idea, but I'm sending you everything. You are the guy to say yes or no. So that's what I mean about I always have that trust with that guy now, with that team. They can't, at the same time, they cannot do anything without my approval or my signature, never. So I always gonna have the last word. They cannot touch my bank accounts and nothing like that. So and I've been with them for 20 years now. So
wow.
So that's what I mean about trust. I think money is important, but you have the last call on everything. So don't let nobody touch in your. It's easy. It's just an email. It's just a signature. It's just a phone call. But don't let nobody just doing moves just because.
Jose, so, you hit on a great point. You didn't delegate that responsibility to somebody else. And you, even out of the gate, you were the one that conducted the meetings. You were the one that made the decision and got that gut feeling. What were some of those things that really stood out to you about the individual or team that's managing your money that you ended up going with versus some of the ones that earlier on you took a pass on?
I think it was about a little bit, and my team helped me in that. My agent, gave me a little bit of what he thought. And after my other team, my sponsor, whatever, they're like, this is what I think. But at the end of the day, it was, when people, the way they presented their work, how they work, who they work with at the same time. So just having that reference of somebody that maybe or somebody you can ask questions and say, hey, how is this guy? How this guy helped you do things? So not just because the guy is funny or you comfortable with him or you having a good time, that maybe not the right person. I think you have to ask questions. You have to maybe ask some reference. Maybe we're gonna know somebody. There's 450 people in the NBA, so you always can ask and join one of those guys for sure, and see. Okay, hey, is this guy worthy? Can I trust him? Can I do things with him? And that's why I choose those guys. I think it was about confidence. I think it was about just trust some of my friends that they were working with this guy, and they were like, look, Jose, this is working really well. He's doing the right things. He's not going to do anything trying to hit the lottery. He's going to be, whatever you want him to do. And I think that's what I needed. So that was the first step.
Guys like you have come through your lives. And again, you're used to people saying yes, 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 and accommodating. And often at times in this industry, you get professionals that are enamored by the fact that, wow, I'm dealing with this big time NBA player. Was it a big deal, and did it bring comfort for you for that person to have the capability to say no to you at times? And talk about how that kind of resonated, because that's a key piece you brought up there.
I think if he was the other way around, at some point I will be like, okay, something is going on here. I cannot work with you. That's why I can say yes all the time, but that's why I brought you to this, because I need you to really see the numbers. What is going to be the future? Is this investment something I can be affording right now? Because maybe it's a great investment, but if we go back to the first contract, maybe at that time it wasn't great. Maybe now after on my third contract, maybe it's amazing and we should do it. But I think it's depending on what time of your career is. And like I said, I think the saying no, I think is really important. Like at the same time, you got to make your guy feel like it goes the other way around. If he do a bad thing with me, he knows he's not going to work with another NBA guy because I'm going to be telling everyone. So, I mean, at the same time, we are in a brotherhood. That's why I think it's good to ask questions. I don't want to say somebody to this guy if the guy already makes something bad with me or he's not working the right way. So if somebody asks me or a teammate asks me, I'm like, look, you can trust me. You can trust this guy. He's going to do the right thing. This is a guy. Now, if it's the other way around, it doesn't make sense. So that's why sometimes I get upset with these guys trying to get advantage of some NBA guys when you could have even more business if you do the right things.
Yeah, and you know, the other unique thing that you hit on is as it related to, you know, if we put this in the perspective of a coach starting out a game with a game plan. You know, you talked about the fact that earlier on you didn't want to focus on hitting grand slams, but yet you also talked about how things changed and transitioned for you as far as your investment plan and things you became comfortable with as you got to that second contract, third contract, making more money, et cetera. Can you just talk a little bit about what went through your head and how you guys made those game time adjustments throughout the course of your career as far as your finances and portfolio were concerned?
Yeah, so Drew, here is like it's a little bit what I hit before. It's almost like now we're talking about the different kind of investment because now I can, because now I got that second contract, and now we're talking instead of like one is it doesn't matter, it's 5. So now I know I have 5. Now I know this 5 is gonna get me, or I'm gonna be able to save X amount of money at the end of my career. I know I'm at the end of my career in 20 years from now. No. After those 5 years, because I don't know if it's going to be a third contract. So we always were thinking on like what we have right now and how that was going to look. So that's how we start working on that. And it was great because for sure when that contract arrived, it opened up a lot of opportunities, a lot of more of different things you can invest and do stuff or even open a business or something you're interested in. But I think that's the right moment when you start feeling like, okay, I'm going to put this to save. This is going to be in this kind of like bonus or whatever you want to bonds, for example. This is what I need to spend for my family. And now I have this. Let me invest. What is the good investment? But now you got more, a little bit more of a space of a comfortable zone to be able to open your wide, you get to a wider point of view on investments and finances tools where you can get there.
So needless to say, just like with a game, you're going to have some great shots, some shots that aren't going to be so good. With investing, when you're in it long enough, you're going to have some investments that go really well and some investments that don't go so well. Mm-hmm. Any investments that stood out in your head throughout your investment career that, were like, wow, wish we could have replayed that one and anything to share from that experience in terms of how that might have happened and went down?
Look, the good thing here is, like you say, it could go well, and there is always something that can go wrong. Don't put everything on the same place. That's first. Like, it doesn't matter how good of investment, how it look like. If that's all you have, you cannot put everything in there because we don't know what's going to happen. Look at the situation that we are right now. Nobody was expecting this kind of a pandemic or whatever, but it could go wrong. If that's all you have, it could be trouble. So, just pick and choose, try to put different, in different risks, not everything on a high risk, put something conservative, put something on the long run, put a little bit of everything. And that's how we did it. And one thing I could change, and it's not because it went wrong, because actually it worked, but because I was lucky to sign my second contract. I have one investment that I thought was going to be good. It was back in Spain. And at that time, it would look amazing. It was a long thing. It was like a big land that I have. And I put some trees in there, trying to build something for the future. And at that time, I thought it was okay. But after I realized, like, what I was spending there every year, it was maybe a little bit too much. And I was in a moment where I have to make a decision of like, okay, should I keep going? What if I don't have a next contract? I'm going to be able to still paying this. It doesn't matter. I don't remember how much money it was, but imagine this 50,000 a year to be able to get to that, what I wanted to get, or maybe it's better to just stop now and lose this 100,000 that I already put in. So it worked out well because I was able to get to the second contract, and I'm still having that business, and it was great. But it was that business, the only one who I really had doubt or like, I was close to make it, to maybe it was a bad decision. It was I maybe rushed it a little bit too much.
So it's interesting. You talked about your team. You're obviously now very successfully into your MBA career. You've got your investment portfolio going, but you just mentioned an investment that you had back in Spain that was not in the stock or bond market. How did you approach investing in outside investments that were not market related? So a business either that you're buying or you're thinking about managing. So what was your approach to it? How did that work out for you in terms of managing and staying on top of that? And what advice do you have for other players that are in the league, may not have the expertise, thinking about it, something they do now, wait till they're transitioning, or wait till they get out of the league?
For me, it was about just where I could feel comfortable. I didn't want to do nothing like I didn't have any idea of it. So now I have business. I have a restaurant business with big chefs or whatever, and I'm partnered with them. Or I can have some investment in some apps or startups that are growing up, or companies that are already big already. But in all of those little investments, I wanted to not just be, I put the money here and let me get my money back. I always was trying to kind of like be part of something. How can I help with this business? Do I know something about it? And that's how I started to create my businesses, my companies. The other thing was too, like, it is hard to just start something by yourself right away. Maybe there is steps in the middle. If you like the restaurant thing, instead of just open a restaurant, maybe you should partner with somebody first and see how it works. See how you really like the inside of how a restaurant works. Or if you wanted to do something, it doesn't matter, a technology brand or whatever. Instead of just doing by yourself, same thing. Can you partner with somebody? Do you know somebody who is doing that? Could you just get there with a little money first and maybe have an option to get to a bigger stage later on? So just be careful with that in opening, because we all have dreams, but at the same time, like we talked before, there is always the right time. And you have to find that time for you, for your money, where you are in your career, and what you are with that company and that. So that was always my approach. And like you say, now I have a few different businesses and companies, and it was because of that. It just started as, let me see how this works. I like it. Okay, now I open another one. Now I'm going to open 2 or whatever, like in restaurants, for example, or just being a partner with somebody, or being in a technology company. All those little things were just at the beginning, were just little pieces.
So it's interesting, you've talked about your journey as you now look back. And again, you were very fortunate to play in the league for the time that you did and have 3 contracts. Are there things that, as it related to your portfolio and how you began to transition, what were some things that you started to do as you got towards the end of that 3rd contract, as far as your portfolio, your level of comfort in being able to invest and diversify and do other things?
Well, I think the most important part for me, Drew, was when, okay, at some point, I'm going to make this kind of money. So I'm not a guy who are my style, my lifestyle is not like crazy. I'm a pretty normal guy, but I got three kids in school. I got, my wife, my expenses, whatever. So the thing that I was more worried about was, okay, this is what it's getting in now, but it's going to change dramatically, totally different from what's going to happen, after basketball. So how is going to change, or is that going to change my monthly spend? That's going to change, because now I still going to have the same spending. I have the same house. I'm living in New York now. I have my same money that I have to spend for the school for my kids. So that was the first thing we talked with my team. And I was like, okay, how are we going to approach that? And one of the things is, like, if you do the right things from a few years back and all the steps that we've been talking about, when you get to this point, it's not like you got to change like a crazy thing unless you were going, buying cars like crazy or partying or whatever. But if you do the right things, I mean, I didn't really change anything. I just, yes, I'm making less money now, but because of what I did before, I can still living with the same expenses. I can still live in this apartment. I can still pay my kid for this school. I can, still figure it out because there is a lot of money invested already that is giving me that percentage back for me now to be able to keep, in this line.
So it sounds like you were pretty tight. You obviously had your hands around your plan, your budget, and all these other things were in line. So you also talk about the fact that you relied and utilized the members of your team. Couple questions. Did that same team stay intact during your entire career? Were there times you needed to make changes? And what made you jump in and have you identify changes that need to be made with those members if and when that happened?
I think I changed one person, like he's not in the team now. But what we did, because we were growing, we add people. So because we needed some people in other, just in other places, with another kind of view, with maybe in another business related, and we needed to have that as expertise in our group. So more than changing, like I say, we changed one guy because he went to a different firm and it was too much work or whatever. So it wasn't like he did nothing wrong or something like that. But what we were doing was like, we were keeping adding people. Okay, we want more on, like you say, it doesn't matter if it was bonds or it was this. Can we get somebody who can help us on this department a little bit more? Because I'm interested in startups. Can we get somebody? So we add somebody in the group to give us that perspective of like how we could invest. What was the good, what we have to look for on those investments. So now the team, instead of like 3 and 4, now we are 7 or 8, and that's how we did it.
It's like keeping an active, growing NBA team moving. I mean, you want to bring guys on that are going to add value and allow you to win more championships.
And you know why? Because at the end of the day, when you get to that second contract, you get to a bigger stage, you need more people to be able to help you. When you get to the next, it's the same. I think you're growing, and I think your team and the people around you should be other kind of people. Maybe you at the beginning, you only can be able to do like we say, a little bonds here, maybe a little investment here. But if you had to touch more because more money is coming, maybe you need somebody else to help you go through that. And now you need more. You just need a guy for your taxes. You just don't need a guy just for your financial whatever. I think you need somebody else to give you those advice. And after, you put it on the table and you decide what's best for you, because you are the one who making those decisions. But you need some different point of views, on those investments for sure.
So I mean, you continue to hit on this point, which again, I can't commend you enough in the fact of having folks with the right level of expertise. And unfortunately, we often see situations or scenarios where somebody hires their homeboy, somebody wants to take care of a family member, and it's a good deed, but they might not be the best person with the background and expertise to do that. Did you ever encounter that situation? And what advice do you have to guys that are in that situation right now?
No, and yes, and 100%, and you can take care of whatever you want, but they gotta be what they good at. Like my dad, I took care of my dad and he worked with me, but now he worked on all my camps because he was a basketball player. He cannot be taking care of my money because he never had that kind of money. He could help me because he's my dad and he's going to try to do the best of his abilities, but he's not maybe the right person for you on that. Look, like, I think we can take care of people just being open, just asking, hey, I have an idea. My brother, what do you want to do? This is what I'm doing. I'm working in a bank and I'm doing this and that. Okay, let's find a way how you can help me. How can you be part of the team? But I'm not gonna just give you this or whatever you wanted to do if you're not like prepared for that. Now, your brother is already studying. He does business. He does this. He's been working in a bank. He knows what you're talking about. Maybe he can start help you, but he's always gonna need somebody to back him up. we need another perspective. We need another guy who can give you that, another point of view. So I'm not saying not getting your people involved, but there is a lot of way to get family members involved. I got people working on my foundation from my family. I got people working, like I say, on my camps, and people working on some part of my the restaurant business or whatever. But because they were good at that and they were great for that. Now, I cannot ask my like I say, my mom or my dad about what I should do with this money. Should I invest in bonds or my portfolio? They have no idea. So there got to be other ways. So that's how I took care of it. I was really always really open, even with my parents, about, look, don't worry about the money. Like, I don't need you to I don't want you to, just because I'm gonna give you $1,000, you're gonna feel better because they are in your account. They are in mine. You're not gonna be hungry. You're not gonna be without a house. But let me handle the money, and if you need it, I'm gonna give it to you. So it's just about just an open relationship. Really talk. I'm not gonna let you. Nothing is gonna happen to you because you're my family, and that's why. And I'm here because of you. But let's bring these guys, and we're gonna find a way to help each other and being in the right place.
So Jose, you just transitioned in, and obviously family, taking care of family, taking care of your loved ones is a big deal. And so many guys come into the league from a variety of backgrounds. You come from another country, so there could be nuances related to your culture that are obviously different from the family dynamic than what we see here in the United States. So how did you approach the whole family piece out of the gate in terms of money, allowances, people you wanted to look out for, take care of, having that conversation?
Maybe culture is different. I think maybe in Spain, maybe the family is different, the way they treat that. But at the same time, we have people asking my parents for money, same thing. But with my parents, I was really great and open, and it was easy. I think I was lucky to have the parents that I have. We didn't came from a big money family. My dad worked in a family. My mom had a little grocery store back in Spain in a small town. So we were okay. We didn't have craziness. We were good, just a good family. But I think at the same time, what it changed is like, okay, guys, if I can, mom, as soon as I can, I'm going to be able to close that grocery store so you can just be home, relax, do something else. Like, I don't want you to work for 18 hours a day because, I'm going to try to do that. Like, I know you've been carrying the whole family, and that money was all for our food and for everything. That's going to be my first step. Hopefully it's next year. And my mom was the first one to stop working on the grocery store, and we closed that, and we were able to have my mom home almost right away. My dad was the year after he stopped, but he was still working on a factory and with friends, and he got friends saying, your boy is already playing NBA or whatever, and you're still working in a factory. What is that or whatever? And my dad, I know that he got trouble with that sometimes because I know he was like, right. At the same time, he was thinking like he's a human, and he was like, I think I maybe put him in trouble in a few times just because he didn't know how to answer those questions to those people approaching him. But I was really open with him. The next year he stopped, and I'm like, Dad, don't worry about it. Like I said, like, you okay? I'm okay. That means you're okay. And my parents were okay, and my brother, we only 4, and we take care of everyone. My grandpas, whatever. But it was like, I think it's like good to be proactive in this. I think it's good to talk about it as soon as possible. I think at that time you're gonna know who is with you and who is not, and I think it's your money, and your mom, your dad, your brother are with you, but the rest, you gotta be open and really see. Look, if I can, when I can, I will help you with this, with that, or just tell them what ideas do you have, how you can help me. Let's work together on something. Maybe your first investment can because one of your cousins have a little store that you can, maybe you like what he's doing. But I mean, just be proactive, be open, talk about it. Don't wait until that phone start ringing sometimes.
Did you ever have any tough family conversations that you remember a family member reaching out saying, hey, I just saw what you made and I need you to hook me up? And how did you deal with that? Did that change anything with that relationship?
You know what? I think because I was really clear from the beginning, I think they never approached me. I know they approached my parents. I know they called my parents to say, can you talk to Jose because I need this and we owe this money and the house and now I'm not working. And I was settling a few times. I was able to, okay, how much they looking, what is the problem? And my parents really told me like, look, it's true, this is what happening. Maybe it was only $500 or whatever. Maybe we're not talking about crazy money. So that's why I handled. So, but I was pretty clear. So they never really approached me. They knew if they needed something, they could call me. But so that's why I stopped a little bit that craziness. Like I know some of the guys have, like, hey, give me this, I need this. No, like let's talk about it. Let's see what it is, how it is, and let's figure it out and talk to your guys and to your the people you trust, and even talk to your family. They know when it's real, when it's not. What the people are doing with money. I think that's important. We cannot just give money just because. That was my plan.
And it sounds like you were all over it. So as you began the transition out of the league, were there conversations that you had to have with your family for them to understand that the checks are going to get a little different, life is going to change in some ways, and how, this process is going to continue to evolve over time?
Yeah, and I think I have to say this. I was lucky enough to have the contracts, and like now for me, like I say, it didn't change like crazy because I was working already all these years to get to this point where I will be able to keep, living the way I was living, doing the things I was living. Like I say, pay the school, my house, or whatever. So the most important part of all of this is like all the steps. Just go step by steps and everything is going to take care of it. If you do the right things, when you get to that point of that transition where you're going to be able, instead of making 2, making 100,000, you're going to know how you're going to handle that because you've been doing it already. But you got to have it in here. You got to do the right step. You got to learn. You got to study and know what you want and how you're going to handle that money. So at the end of the day, Drew, I think it's a process. I think if you're doing the right things from the beginning, you're going to be prepared for after, that transition. If you're not doing that and you're trying to prepare yourself the last year or when you're already out of the league, you're in trouble because it's going to be impossible. It's going to be too late.
So you had checks and balances there, ready for that transition. On the checks and balances front, again, great situation with your team. Did you have any checks and balances on the members of your team to make sure that they were doing what they needed to do and somebody looking at it from a third-party perspective while you were going through your career?
Yes. And then, like I say about adding people, I think at some point we were just adding people to see how things were going, how the contracts were signing and how they were redacted. And at the same time, same thing, I was open with everyone. I wanted, like, for example, like we talked at the beginning, my advisor or whatever, at the beginning, he was investing some of his money with me. So that gave me that confidence and trust. Okay, he's putting his money, I'm putting my money. Okay, let's see how things go. Same thing, but at the same time, I always have somebody else to say, okay, do you think this is a good investment? And that's how you build that trust. You cannot just sign anything or just invest just because. Same thing with the sponsor guys. And that's kind of like easier, but sometimes you really gotta know, okay, this is what I'm making. Is this something? Just talk even with a brand or somebody else to really see what's going on, and it's not something different, And so we always were adding people just because of that, just because of like making sure everybody's on the same page, everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing, and and none of my guys are exclusively to me. That's one of the things I wanted to clear. Like they work in a big firms. I'm one of their clients for sure. It's a different, there is more of a personal relation, but they work with other people as well. So I don't have anybody of those guys just 24 hours for myself.
Got it. All right, Jose. So I asked you this question. You've been smart, you've been frugal, you've been prudent with your money. It's come to you over a significant period of time. But every now and then we all get lucky, and potentially some of us have this unexpected windfall. And so I think you had a very unique windfall on March the 1st, 2017. And that was the day that you actually got signed by the Warriors in the morning. A few hours later, you were waived by the Warriors because they discovered that, again, one of your former players, Kevin Durant, had gotten injured and they needed to bring a forward in as opposed to a guard. So they agreed to pay you $415,000. And by my numbers, you made $207,500 an hour that day for the 2 hours they signed you, because they honor the contract, I think. So what did you do with that lump sum of money, and advice you have to guys that get these unexpected windfalls to come in?
Okay, so that was, it really, what happened was, like you say, I signed with the Warriors. Kevin Durant that night got injured. So a few hours later, they had to go and they signed Matt Barnes. What happened is, and this is what I think the way I am and the way we work with my team, it was this. They say, don't worry, Jose, we're getting you paid. We said, don't worry, Golden State. It was in a different situation. We talked to Atlanta, and what Atlanta did was pick up my contract. So we were trying to get the Warriors not to have to pay for that money. I could, maybe in a different situation, I was thinking about getting that money for 2 hours. But because of like my reputation, the way I am, the way I feel, I didn't deserve that money. I was lucky. I was already sad enough that I couldn't make that team because they end up winning a championship. But on the money wise, it wasn't with basketball, but it was with another thing. We bought and we have investment in a company that we thought it was just because, and from 20,000 went to a craziness. It was unexpected. What you do, same thing. You're really happy for sure, but when that thing happening and it's unexpected, it shouldn't change anything. It's about no, like, okay, now I can spend this money on something. It's about, okay, we got this. What's next? Where we can invest this money now? Because now we got another extra 400,000 or $500,000 or whatever. So it's just being careful with those unexpected wins, because sometimes we get comfortable, we get out of our thing, and sometimes I sound like I'm so, no, hey, I'm going on trips, I'm enjoying my money, I'm enjoying my life. It's not like I'm only too worried about money, but I think that's something it just comes with just doing the right thing. So if you win big like that, for sure you can go and celebrate, but just be mindful of what's your next step with that money.
Got it.
But I didn't
put a little aside.
But Golden State didn't. I didn't get that money. I know it came out that way, but no, I'm a different kind of people, and we really call Atlanta and say if they could pick up they have 48 hours to pick up before I was waived. So they pick up the contract. So Golden State, I think, was up for like $30,000 or something like that. So.
But at the end of the day, your message, when you have those windfalls, do something meaningful with it, which obviously you've done in a host of situations.
Yes.
So when you think back, as we begin to wrap this thing up, any financial mistakes you think you've made in your career and what you might have done differently if there were one or two that were there?
I have a few investments, and I was lucky that I didn't put a lot of money on it. But, I opened a little business back in Spain and I closed it or whatever. Why? Maybe I didn't know enough. Maybe it was one of the investment I needed to be more involved. Because that's what I said before about just do whatever maybe what you're comfortable with. So, I wasn't in there. I thought it was going okay. And after I'm like, why I put that money there? It didn't make sense. I didn't really like it. So I put it aside. And when I was trying to take care of it, was too late. So yes, I have, some bad investment. Like I say, it was lucky enough, like it wasn't a lot of money, but since those little mistakes, when I start like, okay, if I'm doing something, let me really know what I'm doing. Do I like it? Do I enjoy it? Do I gonna be able to be part of something? So that's how I changed my mind with those little mistakes that I make.
So as you got to the end of your career last season with Detroit, when did it kind of hit you that things were about to transition into the next phase of your life? And through that, were there any things that you did to try to continue to stay in the career, and any added expenses you might have incurred to make that happen?
No, I could say like I was working out or just keep paying my trainer or whatever. But at the same time, I moved to New York just thinking, okay, if there is no basketball, New York is going to be where I wanted to live because, job opportunities, because I thought the right place for my family, just because of, whatever I have in mind. But I was working out in New York because, if a good team was calling, I wanted to maybe play one more year. And I wasn't ready to say no to maybe having a championship run or something. But at the same time, I was already, a little tired of the role of being the third point guard and not playing a lot and traveling the same and practicing a lot of time. And I have 3 boys. So that's where my transition, and that's why when I was in Detroit, I was already thinking, okay, it changed a lot if I play 14 years to 15 years. And I know, because at that point, it wasn't about the money. It wasn't about another minimum contract. Yes, there is a lot of money. But I wasn't at that position where I was able to say, it's not even about money. It's going to be about the situation. It was about my family. It was about the right thing. So when I'm working in New York, I'm working out. I have a meeting with Matteo, the NBPA, ready first. And after I meet with Michelle, and they asked me what I wanted to do, what were my plans. I told my plans. And they proposed to be in this job that I am right now as special assistant to Michelle. And that's how I get this job, but it wasn't planned. My plan was to be in New York to be able, because the NBA was there, the NBPA was there, and 2 NBA teams were there. And everybody is going to go through New York at some point. So if I wanted to stay connected with basketball, that's why I choose New York. So I was lucky to have this job up there. But my transition, was that it was, could I save that money of my trainers and living in New York for those couple of months and, expensive as it is or whatever, because I already thought about leaving basketball, but I wasn't sure. So that's why that was the biggest expenses that I have. And I'm not, I think I would do it the same way, because if a team called between those 2 months that I'm working out, I think I would say yes. A team that I thought it would be a good opportunity for me, no any other team, because there were a few teams that called, but it was just a different situation and I wasn't ready for that.
So you talked a lot about the money side of things. Obviously, your family. You talked a lot about your sons. What are some of the things that you've had to do with them, just mentally and emotionally, dealing with your transition? And how's that going for you guys now that you're out of the league and Dad's probably home a lot more than it used to be, not on the road traveling?
Yeah, no, and the good thing about me is, like, if I was home, I was dropping my kids to school and I was picking them up and I go to after school. So that was my routine. I was really a family guy, but it's been fun. It's been fun. I'm spending a lot of time with them, even more. I have a little bit more of flexibility because there is not that much traveling, even that I have some trouble. But that changed a lot, that approach. But it's fun because my little one is still asking me, are you going to play basketball again? Daddy, when do you start playing? And I'm trying to still explain to him, like, no, that's gone. Like, I'm not going to be playing anymore. Now I'm working, on basketball, but on the other side of basketball and another side of the business of the NBA. But it's been great. And I think I was lucky enough of my wife, because she understood from the beginning, that it was going to be tough during the seasons and we were going to have our times or whatever. I was lucky enough that when I was moving at the end of my career, my kids were already little. So it's easy to move them when they're little. I think trouble is when you get traded or you move when the guys are 12, 13, 14, now they have real friends. It's tough to move from city to city. So I was lucky with that, with my family, and I make things easier for me.
What would you tell your younger self coming into the league today?
On a basketball part, just if you have a dream, just work hard. If you work hard, you're gonna have your opportunity. You can learn every day. Just keep working. It's gonna be highs and lows, but just keep working hard, have fun. And that was the most part, like, keep doing, because I remember my first years, up and down, so whatever, but I stayed with it. I really fought hard. And that was the thing. I'm like, just keep doing it. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep believing in yourself. And money and financial wise, I think it's about, step by step, relax. Like, this is the money we have now. Let's take care about this, and we'll see what happens in year 2. Let's see what happens in 5 years from now. But right now, this is you. You are with your rookie contract. This is the money you have. So we can dream, but just leave it as a dream for now. Like, it's always time to address those dreams later on your career.
And we got to end with a 3-pointer. So same question, but for guys that are within 2 years of transitioning out of the league, top 3 bits of advice you would give them.
It depends where they are right now. But for me, one of the things I forgot to mention is about educating myself on all those traveling on the planes. My last few years, I was doing the crossover into business with Harvard. I was doing something online with a college in Spain about marketing, about the startups, about accounting, about everything. Why? Because I wanted to feel comfortable on the investment I was doing, on the companies that I own. So I wanted to be comfortable with the group of guys I want to be able to talk. So what I can advise them, keep educating themselves, learn, really know what you like. And now let's put it together and see, okay, if this is what I like, what I need to do to get there. Do I have the money? Do I have I'm educated enough to be able to pursue that dream? Or do I have to keep learning on something? Who can help me? Is the PA, the of the core, is the player association, is somebody I know in some company. So find really what you want to do, find what you at that stage of your career, and after that, just putting everything together and just go from there.
Awesome. Well, Jose, thank you for your time. Again, congratulations on an amazing career, both on the court as well as off the court. And we will continue to keep our eyes on you as your leadership progresses and your new role with the NBPA.
Thank you, Drew. It was a pleasure. And hopefully, guys can listen to this and just, everyone on their own pace, but just, take care of everything, because it's really important and it's going to change everything for them.
Great. Guys, you heard it from one of the best. Utilize him. He's a great resource. Again, Jose, thank you, and continue to stay safe.
Thank you very much, Drew.
Take care.